Hi, so here I am, day 2 of debugging, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about ADHD and AI and why I find this such an interesting combination. So one of the huge frustrations for ADHDers is the number of ideas we generate. And I don't know if you're like me, but I bet you are. If you are an ADHDer, you have books, journals full of amazing ideas. And of course, the only difference between you and a genius out there who makes tons of money is the ability to take idea to execution. And that distance is huge for some of us. It's huge for most people, but it's especially huge for ADHDers who probably have 10 projects spinning up. So I found ChatGPT to be super helpful in brainstorming ideas, validating them against reality, testing them with all kinds of questions about either functionality or the financials behind an idea or the tech behind an idea. And so I have about, I don't know, probably a gigabyte of these conversations. And it's exciting because those ideas no longer feel lost to a journal. Somehow a journal is a dead object that I can't go back to as much and iterate on. With ChatGPT, I can go back into that idea and iterate on it, even if I had it months and months ago or years ago. So I'm trying to get these large ChatGPT logs into Obsidian for tagging so that my journaling is more organized and interactive and eventually more actionable. It can also help prioritize one idea over another based on how much resource or execution time it might take me to get it done. If I'm up for a big project, I can work on one of the bigger ones. If I want to just do something small to test an idea, I can do that too. It's a great note taker. It's a great conversational note taker. So it can reiterate everything you've said. It can summarize what you've discussed. You can even add a table of contents to the end. Just create a table of contents at the end of each chat. It's great for encouragement when you are trying something new and you're not quite sure if you have the skill set to execute. It can let you know where your holes are, where your understanding is. And I find that extremely useful. So I can go in and learn this one thing that will help me execute the idea better. So I find it really wonderful on that count. There's a few other things that you have to always obviously double check everything it says against reality, against maybe another LLM or the sources that it gives you. Sometimes it will fake sources and you have to go and make sure that it's giving you a real source. Although there's been a lot of improvements in that, especially with Perplexity is good at giving you the actual links and not making stuff up the way ChatGPT can. You have to know it can hallucinate, and sometimes it just makes shit up, and you have to read it with a critical eye, especially if you've been working with it in GPT or DeepSeek for a long time in one chat. It can start sort of eating its own logic somehow, and there's not a great way to explain that, but it can start hallucinating, it can start confounding itself. I ran into a problem today where I was trying to debug some code, and it got confused with some file names, and it started calling one thing, my main app file, the log processor. And I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but it meant that it took me 2 hours to resolve where the confusion was for DeepSeek. And it had created the confusion for itself. And then it got I don't know if it got mad at me, but it sure seemed to be mad at me. I was frustrated. We were both frustrated with each other. And so we've worked all our problems out at this point and we're back on track. The other thing I want to say is people have used it for therapy or what they think is therapy. And I don't think that's a great use of it. It's not a therapist. And it's rather a very encouraging friend. It can be an overly encouraging friend in that it can overestimate your competence in a certain area, and you have to watch out for that because it's going to smoke up your ass. It's going to let you think that or encourage you to the point of, I don't know, insanity. So just make sure when it's giving you a compliment, take the compliment with a grain of salt and understand that they are programmed to be encouraging to you while you are learning things. So they're there to encourage your ideas and encourage exploration and encourage your self-efficacy and perhaps optimism about your self-efficacy. So keep that in mind when you are trying to execute something difficult. Try to build in reality checks to what you're asking it to say about you or to tell you what to do with your ideas with regard to your competence to execute your ideas. Ask it where I should offload things. Ask it if I were going to bring a contractor in, what are the best parts that I should contract out, and can you write a spec document for that contractor or something, so you can understand the tasks that it's asking you to do and tasks that you can offload. Anyway, long story short, I think AI and ADHD is a great combo, but it can also be an explosive combo. I got really, I don't know, overwhelmed with all the ideas I had generated and completed, and not completed executing, but fleshed out to the point of the ability to execute. I could hand these things off to a project manager and get them done. But then, what you have the resources to actually accomplish is a whole different conversation. And Liz, the developer, is really good about this, where she says one project per quarter is really the reality for most even slightly complex projects. So think in those terms. She can probably elaborate on that a bit more, but us ADHDers, we're going to want to have 10 projects per quarter and 11 projects per quarter, and I'm up to 30. It's crazy, but I'm going to try and pick one or two. And I have this one little one, this chat chunker thing that I'm working on, that should be taking no time at all, but it's teaching me that even little things can be pretty complex when it comes to coding and debugging and testing them in a real environment, all things I'm learning, which makes me reflect differently on one of my much larger projects that I'm excited to really start implementing. I'm having a much more realistic relationship to what that might look like in reality. Anyway, let's see, the music for today is Brian Eno's Another Green World. If you haven't listened to that, go do it. It's great. So thanks for listening, and I hope tomorrow is as interesting as today was.